Hello everybody, my name is Tobisatsu, and welcome to Tobi Talks. This is going to be a series where I, Tobisatsu, pick out some topics or things I want to discuss. Don't really have a generalized script to follow, just kind of talk into the mic and give you guys a more personalized conversation feel. And I'll have some stuff like playing in the background, some minimal editing, but mostly it's just going to be me talking straight to you. Today, I thought it would be an interesting thing to kind of go over where we're at with the media landscape in 2025. At the time of making this video, we are officially halfway through the year, which not only puts into perspective that time just stops as you get older, but makes for a good kind of way to half off the year and see where we're at and where we may end when it comes to the quality of the content we're getting this year. I'm going to mostly stick with movies, but because I have watched a few TV shows, I do want to start the video specifically talking about that. I haven't watched a ton this year. Again, I'm not a massive TV guy, but I've caught three things. Those being Common Side Effects, The Studio, and the second season of Severance. Of the three, hands down, Common Side Effects is my favorite. It has a fantastic story. The voice actors all around do a great job. It's gorgeously animated, has some great soundtrack hits. It is a great show. Some great themes, character development, all around. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I want to go into it more, but I'd rather you guys just go and experience it for yourselves. Again, highly, highly recommend it. Out of most of the things in this video, that's one I would say you need to watch. The Studio was also actually really good. As somebody who's kind of iffy when it comes to Seth Rogen and his comedy, I really enjoyed the show, and I think that this is one of his better performances in the past few years. I really like what it does poking fun at the modern state of Hollywood, kind of how ideas are propped up more on the idea of marketability than it is creativity. And I think just, having a weekly kind of adventure that has a very light storyline that allows these characters to grow as it occurs is great, and it works really well. Severance Season 2 was also really solid, though I wouldn't say it's better than Season 1. I really like the more experimental aspects it takes with its cinematography, even some things with its acting and such. It feels a lot more creative, which allows the idea of the show to not become stale. I'm a bit iffy on the ending. That kind of honestly dragged it down a bit, and that last chunk of episodes in general, besides the finale, is pretty iffy, to be honest. So, overall though, with TV shows, with a set like that, you really can't complain, to be honest. The only other thing I know that I will check out is the King of the Hill revival. I'm very excited to see that. I'm iffy on the animation, but if the stories and just the scripts are as good as they are in the original show, it's going to be a hell of a show. So that's TV out of the way. Let's start getting into the movies, which I've had quite a few this year that I've watched. Usually with movies, I try to aim for about 50 a year. It allows me to get a good landscape of what's going on. It allows me to touch most genres to make sure that I'm actually, watching things and getting a good generalized view of how the year looks. So thus far, as of recording, this is the 21st of June, I have seen 21 films. So a little below the halfway that I need to be at, but there's quite a few movies that I haven't actually caught this year that I do want to watch, which include things like Novocaine, Legend of Ochi. I kind of want to catch the Wolfman remake, even though I've heard mixed things. I think that could be fun. But those are things I'll, check out down the road with time. So, again, I've seen 21 films. And honestly, I'm really happy with where we're at currently. Of the 21, 10 of them are rated higher than 3 stars. And a good context to kind of put is that if I'm in any way just that was alright, or just kind of indifferent on a film, I'm more inclined to give it a 3 instead of a 2.5. 3 is kind of my mid. Anything below that starts to get kind of choppy. Some context for things I haven't seen this year also, along with the things I mentioned, like the Lilo and Stitch live action remake, How to Train Your Dragon. Those are things where I think they negatively affect the year, but because I haven't seen it, I can't comment. Same with Captain America, Brave New World. I'm not going to touch those things. I can't muster up the courage to do that. So keep in mind, there are a lot of bad movies I haven't seen. I'm trying to experiment with the things I'm seeing, but I'm also, more than ever this year, watching things I'm interested in. Instead of just being like, this is most likely going to be bad, but I'm going to watch it anyways. So there's quite a few standouts this year that I really want to give props to. The biggest thing, easily, is Warfare. That is a 5-star movie, and thus far it is my favorite film of the year, and I don't give things 5 stars often. It is a heavy movie. It feels like you're in the war with them. It takes a section of time, you experience it, and then it ends. There's no glamorization of the war. You're put there, you're getting shot at. There's amazing sound design that really ties the whole thing together. All the actors do a great job, and you just feel horrible that they're going through what they're going through. It's a really solid film, and I highly recommend that. And if you can do common side effects too, do a double feature. Well, I guess you can't really do a double feature with a show, but you know what I mean. Along with that, of course, I think the big talking point for many people this year was Sinners, which, I'd give like an 8. A lot of people say it's a modern masterpiece, where I wouldn't go that far. I think it's a really good film, and it's a good sign that original IPs like that are able to succeed the way that that film did. So I'm very, very happy about that. Yet on the other side of the spectrum, you then have things, of course, like Minecraft, which I think was just, a pitiful experience. And that's looking past the chicken jockey stuff. It was not a solid experience. I found that most things this year that I really liked were original IPs. Something like Companion, for example, has really grew on me this year. I started out with like a 7 on that film, and that's gotten up to an 8 just because of the idea and how it was executed was really, really solid. Mickey 17, for all its flaws, I really did think it was a pretty solid film. That's something with time I think will actually degrade a bit for me. But as of like the making of this video, I still think it's a really solid movie. It's in my top 5 currently, so really, I think it's a fun film. Bong Joon-ho is great. Bring Her Back. Again, coming back off of Talk to Me. You have the Rucka twins, or whatever their actual last names are. I don't know, to be honest. You're putting on another amazing film. This one I liked much more than Talk to Me. I thought Talk to Me was a teensy bit overhyped. Bring Her Back, though, got a lot of good press. Deserved that press. Highly recommend it. But even past some of the original stuff, there was some really good IP work that I really enjoyed in established universes. I thought Predator Killer of Killers had some decent anthologies. I think the first 2 stories were fantastic, with the last 2 being kind of iffy. But I really did like what they did with it. I think it could have been done better. There were aspects of it I didn't like, but it was a really fun animated feature to check out. Which also goes for The Day the Earth Blew Up, the Looney Tunes film. That was hand-drawn. I highly recommend supporting that. That film, unfortunately, got a really bad hand. Deserved a lot better, and I'm really disappointed that it got treated the way it did. And I highly recommend you watch it, just to support it. And honestly, a big shock to me this year was Ballerina. Honestly, really solid action film. Quite clearly a John Wick film. For the budget, it's a lot more condensed and narrowed in with its action. It doesn't have the scope of something like John Wick 4, which I could see some people actually really liking, because I know there are quite a few people who don't like the more bombastic aspects of the current Wick movies. Personally, I enjoy it, but I can understand as to why some people don't. Really, overall, I'm really content with this year. Like, for context, the only things that I have below 3 stars currently is Minecraft movie, Presence, and Flight Risk. Those are my bottom 3, and honestly, for that to be the only movies I have below a 3 is really solid. And sure, there are things that, were kind of just indifferent, like Love Me, or Hard Eyes, or Drop, and, things like that. Even the Phoenician Scheme I was a bit iffy on, to be honest. Mission Impossible was forgettable. But to have kind of a range of that, and then have a top 10 that's including things like Warfare, 28 years later, Mickey 17, Bring Her Back, Ballerina, the Looney Tunes, The Earth Blew Up. Like, it's a good range of things, and really, I'm happy with what we've gotten so far. It makes for an interesting case to see where we're going to be headed into the last half of this year. Because something that I've noticed is that a lot of these films that I really enjoyed are original IPs or franchises that have been on the ice for quite some time. Just think about next month, July, right? We're going to have Jurassic World, Superman, and Fantastic Four. So DC's coming back again. Fantastic Four is Marvel slop. Just to be frank, I can't get into it like that. In Jurassic World, I think I'll enjoy just on the monster movie aspect, but I'm not expecting that to be a massive, success in terms of, storytelling. I am excited that Gareth Edwards is doing the directing, though. I will say that. And hell, right? There's things even that I'm excited for going forward. F1, I think, looks good. I think that Weapons looks fantastic. The Long Walk, I think it is, looks really good. Even, I'm excited for sequels like Nobody 2 and Tron Ares has my interest. But then just in between that all, we're going to have things like Megan 2.0, Avatar, Five Nights at Freddy's, a bunch of just things like Black Phone. There's a lot more emphasis on sequels now than there was at the beginning of the year, which makes me worry. Because some of my best experiences thus far were, again, original IPs or franchises that were kind of on ice for a bit. So I still think this year overall is going to be really solid, but I am worried that it's going to kind of taper off the second half. Maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe it'll actually end up being a really solid landing. And if that's the case, dude, I mean, shit. I look back at what previous years have had. 2021 I was indifferent on. 2022, I would say, was probably my favorite year for films, that I actually started keeping track of what I was watching with. So 2022, 2023 had some really great movies. 2024 had some solid hits, but past the solid hits, I thought it was a really trash year, to be honest. So if 2025 continues on the trajectory it's at, I think it's going to match something like a 2022, maybe even beat it and be one of the best years for film in the past couple years, which, hey, that's pretty solid. I'm quite happy with that. Hopefully that's the case, but, again, we're only halfway through the year. We still got 6 months to go. Hopefully you'll stick around and hear my thoughts once it does wrap up, and we can kind of share our opinions on it. I want to thank you guys for hanging out and listening to me ramble for a little bit. Again, there's going to be some editing, and in the future, I'm hoping to streamline this just a bit more so it's not as rambly. So if you do have suggestions that you have that I can add to these videos, be sure to leave a comment, and I'll be more than happy to consider them. If you have any opinions on the 2025 movie or even TV show landscape as of now, be sure to share it in the comments. I'd really like to hear what you guys think and maybe even discuss it with you guys. If you enjoy the video and the premise of this, be sure to leave a like. Any feedback is good, and I always appreciate the support. And if you want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe. I've got a lot more content besides this, like movie reviews, physical media reviews, unboxings, just so much more stuff that I have that I'll be putting out very soon. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Tobisatsu, and I hope that you have a great day.